Hello BSS, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just a welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do mostly paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Now with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. In Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. The term is never used for healers. Navajo witches, including skinwalkers, represent the antithesis of Navajo cultural values. While community healers and cultural workers are known as medicine men and women, or by other positive nurturing terms in the local indigenous language, witches are seen as evil, performing twisted ceremonies and manipulating magic in a perversion of the good works medicine people traditionally perform. In order to practice their good works, traditional healers learn about both good and evil magic. Most can handle the responsibility, but some people can become corrupt and choose to become witches. The legend of the skinwalkers is not well understood outside of Navajo culture, mostly due to reluctance to discuss the subject with outsiders. Traditional Navajo people are reluctant to reveal skinwalker lore to non-Navajos or to discuss it at all among those they do not trust. Alright you guys, so as you can tell by today's title, I am going to be doing a Reddit video. So today's topic is going to be skinwalkers. Now before I do get into today's video, I just want to preface a few things when it comes to skinwalkers, because I have been putting off putting off doing this video because, number one, it is a topic that I myself feel like isn't something that I wanted to talk about really, and that's mostly because I don't want to offend anybody. And I know you might be thinking, how would I offend anyone? Well, because this theory behind skinwalkers is actually something that the Navajo people have talked about forever, or not even talked about. It's like something that it's like one of their beliefs is what I'm trying to say. I couldn't really think of the right way to go about doing this video, but I know that either way, indigenous people still do talk about skinwalkers or share their stories more like, and you're not supposed to say the word, but it's come to my attention that you actually aren't supposed to say the actual word in the Navajo language. So you can say it in the translation, but it's the word itself that I don't even know it, so I'm not even gonna say it anyway. But I just wanted to say that really quickly. These are just stories. I feel like a lot of different cultures have their own versions of skinwalkers, but for here we're just going to be reading some stories casually. A lot of these stories could possibly not even be real, or it could have been something completely different than a skinwalker. These are just based off of speculations and so on and so forth. But it's going to be more of a lighthearted sort of thing. I'm just going to read some Reddit stories. We're going to hang out, have a good time, not really think too much about it, not go too much into detail, also not nitpick at these stories, because one thing I really dislike is nitpicking and pulling people's stories apart, because a lot of the time, whether they're real stories or not, they're for entertainment purposes and they're on Reddit, so you can read them and be like, oh, that was creepy, I wonder if that's real or not, and it's not like concrete proof or information. With all of that being said, sorry to go on such a long tangent, but I have been putting off doing a video on skinwalkers just for that reason, because I don't want to I don't want anybody from who's Navajo to be like, why, I know that they think it's funny that people outside of their culture talk about it and have all these stories about it, and they really don't care for the most part. For most people, I can't speak on everybody, but Anyway, enough of that. I am going to be sipping on some white wine. So as I said, we're going to keep it chill, keep it, cool, and read some stories, get a little bit creeped out. But I'm going to pour my glass real quick. I'm going to give you guys a little ASMR. And I am drinking a canned white wine. And this one is called Simpler Wines White Italian Sparkling Wine. Vino Frizzante. This is what the little can looks like. It's from Trader Joe's. Here we go. Let me open this real quick. Does that satisfy or what? Here's my glass. I put ice cubes in it because apparently it helps with so you're not as burpy or gassy when you're drinking wine. Oh, that sounds fun. There's a lot in this, Jesus. Oh my gosh, should I have poured it all the way up? Maybe I shouldn't have. Okay. Cheers! If you guys have your drink, or go get your drink right now. Go make yourself a little cocktail. Go get yourself some wine. Pour it up so you guys can drink with me. Okay, cheers. I don't know if I'm posting this on a Monday or a Friday, but happy Monday or happy Friday. Okay. I love white wine. It's the only wine that I like, honestly. Sparkling wine, I love it. It's so good. So good. Cheers. This isn't even a wine glass, I think. This is like a champagne. But whatever. It's the only thing I have, sadly. So they lied about the ice cubes because I immediately wanted to burp after that. Okay, so I'm gonna be looking for these as we go, so there might be a lot of pauses, a lot of cuts, because as I said, I'm looking for these as I go, but I hope you guys don't mind too much. Okay, let's see. So I already clicked on one before I started recording, and this one is in the thread no sleep. I feel like I can't hear myself. Hello. Okay, this one is titled, My Wife Heard a Skinwalker in Our House Last Night. Let me start off by saying that my wife doesn't believe in paranormal entities or anything of that nature. We have 3 cats and one of them likes to be a rebel, jumping onto counters and meowing at the top of his lungs, just looking for attention. He does this throughout the night and it's a regular occurrence. Last night, after a few beers and video games, I decided it was time to head to bed with my wife. When I woke up this morning, my wife was basically attached to me with her eyes and a nervous look on her face. With wide eyes and a nervous look on her face. I asked her what was wrong and she proceeded to tell me what happened last night. She said that around 2:50 in the morning, she was woken up to a noise that sounded like one of our cats downstairs, meowing unusually loud. After giving herself a few seconds to perk up and fully pay attention, she said that the meows, quote-unquote meows, sounded more like a person trying to mimic a cat, and it kept saying, hello. Ugh, I don't like that. It's so creepy. After meowing, it's in quotes. Sorry if you can hear this. I realized that you could kind of hear it clanking. And I also heard it bubbling in the mic. Okay, I'm gonna put it over there. Okay. After meowing for 2 to 3 minutes, a loud bang came at our door, and then a notification went off for a motion sensor at our front door. When she told me this, I checked my phone and sure enough, there was a notification for motion detected at 2:52 a.m. I asked her why she didn't wake me up so I could grab my gun. She said she was frozen with fear and didn't want it to hear her make a noise. We're out running errands while I'm typing this, but something made me uncomfortable about her story. Last night, I set the home security alarm around 9 p.m., and we didn't turn it off until we walked the dog this morning. To make things worse, we had slept with all of the animals in the room and the door was closed. So whatever was in our house or outside the front door was not one of our animals. Obviously, the first thing that came to my mind was a skinwalker, but maybe I'm just being paranoid. I checked all the rooms in the house after I got up. I'm not sure what I could have done anyways. It's very odd that my wife was scared so badly by something she doesn't necessarily believe in. We bought this house brand new, so no one has lived here before. When I'm home alone, I do feel like I'm being watched or someone's always walking directly behind me. My wife also said that the house has given her chills since we moved in. Something is just off about it. We just got home and I went to hang up one of my shirts in the master bedroom closet when I noticed that the board that covers the attic access has been shifted a little. When I asked my wife about it, she said she's never been up there and the builders would have placed it back in its original place before we made the purchase. I'm genuinely getting anxious just thinking about what could be going on. Has anyone had an experience like this, or similar at least? We're going to my mother-in-law's to get some sage. My wife said burning it could keep whatever's around our house away. That's a really interesting story, especially because if there's something living in the attic, I can't even, don't even start me with that because that's so freaking terrifying. Isn't that everybody's fear, that somebody's like secretly living in your walls or in your attic? That is a fear that I unlocked after I watched The Boy, and I really did not like it. But that was a good story, and I don't know about the saging part because now it feels like they might think it's something paranormal, not a skinwalker. But is a skinwalker considered paranormal? I don't know. But either way, really creepy story. Tell me what you guys think. Should he go investigating in the attic, or should he pretend nothing's going on? And also, he should probably be careful on how he sages the house. If they don't know anything about it, I feel like sometimes sage makes things worse in a home. And anyway, that was a good story. Now let's go and look for another one on skinwalkers. Okay, this one is on the shorter side, so I'll go ahead and read this for you guys. It says, I genuinely think I might have seen a skinwalker outside of my house. That's the title of it. It says, bear with my formatting and stuff. I'm writing this on mobile. But one day I just couldn't sleep for the life of me, and I found myself up at 2 a.m. staring out of my window. And for reference, across my window is a fairly busy road, and then it's just forest. As I'm staring out of my window, I spotted a few deer crossing the road from my window. So I got up and went to a different window to look at them for a bit. Forgot to mention my room is on the 3rd floor of my house. And as I'm watching these deer, I watch as one walks slowly across the street, and by slowly I mean slow. As soon as it gets to the forest, it stops and just stands there. And I'm struck with a sort of paralyzing fear. And that's when the deer began to walk normally into the forest. But not before I catch a glimpse of a figure that seems to be 7 to 8 feet tall, with a bony looking face. And keep in mind, I'm a good 40 feet away from this whole ordeal. And as I see this figure disappear, I'm stuck standing there, petrified. It took a good 30 to 40 seconds for me to be able to move again. And after that, I got back to bed and slept like a rock. I might have just been tired, but I swear that's what I saw. Any thoughts? Oh my god. Can you imagine seeing a deer walking, like just regular deer? Well, I guess not regular because he was walking slow as hell. But imagine seeing it stand up. Oh girl, I'd faint. I would pass away. That is so terrifying. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know what it could have been. I mean, it's possible if you say that it's got like a skull looking face. If it had horns, then yeah, girl, bye. That was terrifying. I definitely never want to encounter anything like this of the sorts, whatever it could be. Okay, this one is posted on the paranormal thread. It's called I Might Have Had a Possible Encounter with a Skinwalker. Of course, these are all gonna have the word in it. It says, I'm not that great of a storyteller, but I'll just quickly write what happened. We were staying at a Hogan Airbnb on the Navajo Nation, close to Monument Valley, and there were several very friendly, calm dogs roaming around. I and my friends, one of whom is deathly afraid of dogs, had no problem being with them or petting them. We had a gorgeous view of the Monument Valley right from our door, and it was cold yet cozy. That night, I needed to use the bathroom and opened the door to the dogs going absolutely nuts. There is a difference between a dog barking at just whatever, a person walking by, for example, and then there was this total fight or flight response. One of the dogs ran up to me looking anxious and glancing into the desert behind the Hogan. It came close, then walked back up to look into the desert behind the Hogan. It first stood up and it suddenly looked more like a wolf and took off into the desert at full speed, growling and barking at a huge shadow that ran away from the dog. There aren't many huge animals in the area. Some deer and horses maybe cattle, but this was bigger. I didn't stick around long enough to check what it was. I was pretty shaken by what I saw. I found some fresh wolf/mountain lion prints and hoof prints, probably from a horse, outside the Hogan next morning. The dog prints are smaller. Our host said we might have seen a skinwalker. I'd like to believe it was a horse. It was dark anyhow, but the host didn't want to talk about it too much. The guides we met later on said the same thing, and kept it at that. Later that day, one friend suddenly fell ill on a tour to another Hogan, and almost fainted. That never happened before in her life. The guide said she probably had some bad spirits attached to her. She recovered quickly after stepping outside. That's all. It was a really wonderful trip overall. I'd go again if I could. So yeah, that was an interesting story too. Girl, when it comes to seeing things in the middle of the night, it's like your mind kind of wants you to backtrack a little bit and be like, that could have been anything. It could have been any of the other animals on the property. Like, who really knows? But either way, like, having all of the dogs freaking out over something, like, if they're used to having other animals in the area, there's no reason that they would freak out over a horse being nearby, especially because I feel like the horses are more scared of the dogs than vice versa. And I feel like they're not the type to like not get along with each other. So if it was a horse, I feel like they would have been kind of chill about it and be like, oh yeah, I can smell from here that this is a horse. Obviously, it's not like a strange animal. So that is the part that's the most weird to me, is that if these dogs were getting scared over an animal that they're familiar with, maybe it was not a horse and it could have been something else. So definitely creepy, and it was on Navajo Nation grounds, so could be possible. Who knows? But as I said, as you heard from the story, they don't like talking about it if they don't have to, because you attract the bad energy that you talk about. And I'm not one to speak because I do this for my YouTube. But anyways, good story. Let's go on and find another story. Let me take a sip of my wine real quick. Okay, I think this one's gonna be the last one, mostly because it's long as hell, and also because my camera is close to dying and I don't want to cut in the middle of this to split it into 2 videos and have to switch out my battery, yada yada yada. So this one's gonna be the last story that I'm going to read for you guys, and this one's called Skinwalkers at My Old House. And it says, I live in Gallup, I think it's Gallup. I live in Gallup, New Mexico. I am a Navajo, 21 years old. I have a family that lives on a plot of land south of Gallup, about halfway between Zuni and the latter. It's about 30 minutes to drive to my family's land, and is surprisingly not deep in the woods, which shows how much of a plague these witches are to my people. Off the main highway, it's only a block to get there. I remember first being in close proximity with a witch when I was about 7. I was at my uncle's house. Our land has 3 homes on it. He and my mom and his girlfriend were drinking, and my uncle went to take a piss out the front door. I remember he freaked out and said there was a skinwalker outside. Me being little, I freaked out, and his girlfriend said it was okay, it was just Scooby-Doo, trying not to make me panic too much. Since it's been so long, I remember those important details only. After that, I have no memory of what happened. That uncle died that year. I always think that what could have been between me and him, now that I feel so alone and my remaining family isn't as cool as he was with me. Anyway, to be clear, I never have seen a witch, but these details are unfortunately true. Jump up a couple of years and I am in 8th grade. My grandpa, who lived with my mom and I, is in the hospital. I end up sleeping in his room because I always slept on my mom's floor due to being creeped out by the thought of a witch trying to peer inside my window or hearing the noises it could make. I wanted to sleep in there because he has cable in his room. His room is on the opposite end of the trailer where my mom slept. It's about 5 a.m. and I wake up to the most terrifying language I've ever heard. It sounded like a cross between a hyena and a pig. The constant chit-chat between whatever was outside my grandpa's window haunted me in that instance. I listened for a couple seconds, but I closed my ears as hard as I can out of pure terror. The most scared I've ever been was in that moment. After the ordeal, I went to my mom's room and into her bed telling her what happened and shaking a bit. I had school that morning still, so when we went to start the car, the spot where I heard the noise, there was a trailer hitch, and sitting in it was a stray dog. My grandma hired a medicine man before or after that happened, and he said that dog was in cahoots with witches. I tried to get rid of him, but that dog always came back. It was skinny and skittish. I always had a bad vibe from that dog, which doesn't happen as I love dogs. Anyway, that happened, and what I get most out of that encounter was how truly scared I was to be alone and a small kid hearing evil. I pity myself in that instant. A year later, my freshman year of high school, my mom died. Whether or not those jealous witches contributed toward her death, I'll ponder once in a while. She died from a bad cold, mucus in her lungs. I was asleep in her room, but not on her bed. I went to bed at about 10, and in the morning she was very weak and cold. She was hallucinating and didn't get under the blankets to keep warm because when I woke up, she was sitting in front of her bed. That day changed my life completely, as I've never stayed at that house regularly since she died. I stay with my dad now in town. Weird circumstances she died. She died the same day we took her to the hospital. Anyway, I remember first hearing a story from someone in the family, but not the nitty-gritty of it. They mentioned it like a good drinking memory, so details wouldn't be as known until my grandpa told me about it while we were sitting at Denny's. He said our family may be actively a target of those evil witches. He said once in the 90s when my uncles and their friends were at my grandma's land, which is on the same road as their land I mentioned with the 3 houses, but you just go to the end of that paved road and it turns into forest and a dirt road. But it's not a road that is actively traveled on. It just leads to good wood hauling spots and these power lines, but there are a bunch of crannies and paths that lead to who knows where. No one lives out there, just my grandma's cows, which is the reason we have land out here. Anyway, my uncle's group sees a fire and a witch doing a dance ritual on top of a hill or mesa. They begin to shoot at it, and then it sees them, and they take off for whatever reason. Personally, I would stick around and be a man about it, but they probably had their girlfriends with them who were freaking out. What? How do they go from being scared as hell to being like, I would stay and figure out what's happening? They leave and that witch chases them out wherever they are. Keep in mind, this area has a lot of trees and isn't barren and flat like most of the Navajo Nation. Since it was on the same road and my uncle's friend also lived nearby, my grandpa didn't say but inferred that the witch followed my uncle's back to where my family's land is. If you're from this area, you know many people who have claimed to see these evil things. Other stories involving anybody other than the people around here are just stories. My family and the history of the area they settled at is real. I'm just a regular kid who likes regular stuff. I wouldn't type all of this if it weren't true. I don't like fake paranormal stories, and you wouldn't either if the paranormal was just a footstep away. After all the damage these witches have done, no one wants to talk about it or anything about them. What is there to do? The trailer where my grandpa and mom and I lived at is a dump. Mice ridden since my grandpa died last year, and no one lives in it. A bunch of good memories of me growing up in it for it just to turn out like it has. If there is anything I would like to tell you is don't take those you love for granted. I wish I had more time with those who I've lost. It's been 6 years now since my mom died, and each day is a day I inch further away from her and my small memories of her. Oh my god, that ending was so sad. It turned from something really creepy to I'm like sad as hell now. But hold on. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the last story. And as I said, it was long as hell, and it wasn't the best grammar or formatting either, so it was really hard to get through. There was a lot of facts, a lot of different stories intertwined with each other, a lot of different parts of like different timelines is what I'm trying to say, and different things going on, going back and forth between different stories, but they were interesting, and especially because he is residing in the Navajo Nation, so he's basically saying that anything regarding skinwalkers that happens outside of the Navajo Nation is just stories that people are making up. But you know, who knows how far these witches go and how far they are willing to, you know, torment people. And but anyways, guys, that is going to be the last story. I didn't even finish my wine because I was reading so goddamn much. But one more sip before we go. I haven't ate anything today. It's the middle of the afternoon, and I should have probably ate a little bit something, but I mean, whatever, you know, it's the weekend. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked that more of a chill video, and let me know your thoughts on skinwalkers and what you thought about these stories, and if you like me reading from Reddit, so on and so forth. But before I do end today's video, the comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. I really do appreciate it. And as always, if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. Now, with all of that being said, you guys, hopefully I will see you in my next one. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.